People that don't act like people. Hello X, I want to share with you a few stories that I'm really not sure what to make of. I would really appreciate theories or other ideas. Pretty sure the person I am talking about is not a human at this point and is trying to fake it until she makes it. The story starts some 5 years ago. Back then, I was still a biochem student in London. Everything is good and nice as everyone starts to sort their shit out. Lectures are structured so that gets to the same level of knowledge regarding chemistry and biology to ensure that no one is left behind. This ends after a few weeks of intro lectures. Most or seemingly is now on the same level. Some are slower, but they either catch up or drop out, so for the most part, everyone is now on equal footing. Everyone, apart from Cindy. My first encounter with Cindy went something like this. Please get into groups of 5 in the rows that you are sitting in. Choose a topic to do, and do it. Hand it in at the end of the lecture. You will be marked as a group. Lecture is 2 hours long, so that is ample time to do a project. The brief is being projected, so we can follow it. Get into group. I only know one person by name. I will call her Netta for the story. Netta and I introduce ourselves, and the others do so too. Chinese exchange student number 1, and Chinese exchange student number 2, and of course Cindy. I should have noticed at this point that Cindy's voice was very, and I mean very quiet, but she spoke very clearly, so I could understand her when she said, "My name is Cindy." We chose a project by voting on it, as I listed off the 10 topics that were up on the board. Even the Chinese exchange students seemed to get the hang of the voting thing relatively quickly. It was a simple show of hands of what would you be okay with doing so that we could eliminate the topics nobody wanted. Simple enough. Not for Cindy. Cindy did not vote, not for one topic. We only had so much time in which we should really get it started, so Netta asked her why she was not voting. "Oh, me. Okay, sorry. I will do it." She had no accent, so that made me think that there was no possible way a language barrier had hindered her understanding. The voting started again, only this time, Cindy voted for every possible topic. We eventually narrow it down to upstream/downstream production for the pharma industry, and we get to work. Books out, and we divide up what we want to each work on so that we can bring it all together after an hour and work on the project as a whole. Cindy chose health and safety. There is a section of the course book that directly shows what steps are taken to ensure safety, so that is an easy way to get some good marks in. We get to work on our little pieces. Cindy does nothing, other than stare into her book. Netta confronts her on it after a while. At this point, I'm thinking maybe she's having a bad time, like when you've lost a loved one and you just sort of drift through the day. What is foam? What? Foam. She turns her book and points with her finger to a diagram showing where a tube goes into a vat labeled foam regulators. Foam is like bath foam, you know? Bubbles. Ah! The ah was very loud and really did not fit in with her general quiet disposition. She will go on to do this relatively often. Cindy makes a note of this. Something I later saw was simply a scribbled word. Bafoam. B-A-F-O-A-M. We end up finishing the work for her. As the time draws ever closer, she had done no work whatsoever. Whatever we do, she simply nods. This was not very exciting, I know, but it was only my first encounter with her. Shit got a lot stranger after that. After this, we generally sat elsewhere, as working with Cindy would be a genuine hindrance to us. Cindy still sat in the exact same spot for that lecture for the rest of the year. Not alone, but people tended to move away from her after a while. Cindy has a habit of staring at people during a lecture rather than looking at anything useful. For the rest of the first year, I would catch her staring at me. The usual response when you get caught looking at someone. that you don't know is to look away. Not Cindy. She continued staring. I never saw her outside of lectures throughout the whole of first year. The start of second year was a great deal more intense. I generally stuck to people who knew what they were doing. This included a guy with moderate Asperger's syndrome. Not much of a conversationalist, but friendly, and more importantly, very, very good at chem equations. I learned quite a lot from him, including the fact that the university had a program to help people on the autistic spectrum with their work and counseling for dealing with university life. This made it quite popular for people on the spectrum to attend here. It was then my thinking that Cindy was simply one of these people, and I put her odd behavior down to that. The second year allowed us to specify what modules we wanted to do. This meant smaller classes. The first of these was molecular biochemistry. I sat down in a small classroom and began to unpack my things. I started to feel that feeling you feel when someone is looking at you. I glance up and look around. Standing in the corner, I see Cindy staring at me. She opens and closes her mouth in a very strange way, almost like she was trying to catch a small fly in her mouth. She does it again. I give her a questioning look. She simply does it a third time and sits at the closest table available to her. The lecture starts, and everyone is getting down to do some learning. I occasionally glance back to see her looking at someone else, opening and closing her mouth like she had done with me. I am now a little more interested as to why she is doing this, so I observe her in intervals throughout the lecture. This is a short list of what I observed. She changes the person she is looking at once she has opened and closed her mouth a few times. Once she has switched, she smiles for a few moments and then opens and closes her mouth. She increases the speed at which she opens and closes her mouth. When she smiles, it's a very fast change from smiling to not. The lecture was boring, so I felt at the time the biological field notes I was taking would be an amusing story to tell later. I saw her do this every time we were in that room. The only other lecture we shared was in a large auditorium where she did not do it. About 2 weeks later, in the same room, she sat a lot closer to me, row behind me, one seat to the right. She started to do her thing again. At first, it just sounded like her lips opening and closing, but when the lecturer let us do a calculation in silence, I was able to hear her better. She wasn't just opening and closing her mouth, she was breathing words. Hi, 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 just saying hi every single time. She was trying to say hello to the people she was staring at. Having decided to work with the Asperger's guy during molecular biochemistry on some bullshit project, we got talking on our tics that he has to help him cope in social situations after he started to throw his pen around accidentally. He was cool with this and laughed it off. I asked him if he knew about Cindy from the sessions they had together with the other Spectrum kids. No, I've never seen her there. Oh fuck. Smaller events continue to happen throughout year 2 as the bigger things happen in year 3. Mid-year 2, and I've pretty much established a good group of friends. We work well together, and they are fun to drink with. They too have noticed Cindy's off behaviors. We laugh about it in the bars we go to. Made me feel kind of bad. Until Cindy started to come to the bars too. She would never order anything for herself. She would just sit and look at people. She once ordered a sandwich, which she ate by shoving it into her mouth in one go, and ended up getting mayonnaise on her face and hands. She did not bother washing or even wiping it off. During a lecture, the lecturer stopped explaining something and asked, "You in the back left, are you alright?" The whole class looked back to see Cindy scratching her chest quite vigorously. One of her breasts has come out a little and is there in the open. "Yes, I am just itchy, thank you." She immediately stops after saying this and pops herself back in. It is shortly after this that she adds me on Facebook and messages me with, "Hi, did you like what you say? What are you up to?" I am weirded out by this, so I never reply, but can see that she is typing. I unfriend her. I don't want to get in trouble for any sexual harassment or anything like that. Year goes by without further major incidents. She does get into some problems at the canteen though, as she took food without paying, not even on a plate. She just grabs a morsel and carried it away. She was banned from the canteen. Year 3. At this point, I'm going to stop giving lecture content, etc., as I CBA to type it out. I am still studying at this point. Get on bus home. Cindy is on the bus too. She has never gotten on this bus before. Sits next to me. Hi. Hello, Cindy. Going to try and be civil and be a decent person. She gets out a tube map, subway network in London, for those that don't know. Points to Turnham Green, really fucking far out of the way. Come to my house, I will make you good food. That is what friends do. No, thanks, that's okay. I'm going to eat at home. Where is your home? Warwick Avenue. This was a lie, but that is where the bus was going. Where on map is that? I straight up point to where we already are. Oh, it's nice there. Can I come and see? Yeah, sure. Just not today, okay? When? The weekend. Okay. I get off next stop as she had started to scratch her chest vigorously again. Midterm break. Get out of uni. Go straight to train station to go to my parents for the time off. Cindy is following me. Not obviously, but I know she is behind me somewhere. She may think she is smart, but she can't get through the barrier at the station without a ticket. I am going out of the city, so I am safe. I go through barrier and find my seat on the train. Cindy gets on train. How the fuck? Does her mouth high thing. Leaves. Message some of my friends in the group chat to tell them what happened. They are half amused, half worried. A female friend of mine opens up. Similar things have happened to her too, regarding Cindy. Cindy followed her into a small shopping center and went into every shop my friend went into and left exactly when she left. Things got worse after graduation. Messages on Facebook. I get rid of my Facebook. She texts me somehow and calls me numerous times, leaving bizarre voicemails. I have only one saved, and I will try and make a video of it to share, so I am going to change my phone number. Anyone else had stuff like this? Am I just a paranoid X-file, and it was just an ASD person stalking me? A lot of this stuff just screams, I am inhabiting a human body, but I don't know what to do. What you've described sounds like a mixture of natural mental conditions and possible additive abuse. But even for that, it is very odd. Whatever is going on with her is quite strange. Obviously, there is a problem understanding social behavior, specifically concerning her own engagement. Perhaps she was neglected, isolated. I'm not a shrink, but the apparent detachment from her own behavior kinda reminds me of a schizoidal type behavior pattern, especially considering she does not seem to have a problem passing her classes or taking care of herself. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you do and you want to hear more, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel and leave a comment down below, as it lets the algorithm know that you like my content and it promotes it to more people. My goal for the channel is to hit 50,000 subscribers, and we're closing in fast, so thank you, and back to the stories. First of all, sorry for my English. I live in Costa Rica, in a rural, indigenous community. I'm not really too close to my heritage, but I really like to go deep in the mountains near my home. When I was little, my grandma told me a story that I really liked about the voice of the old man. It is a voice that you only hear when you are really deep in the forest. It is a spirit that protected my ancestors when they run to the mountains from the Spanish colonials. It is something that calls you by your name, and you are not supposed to follow the voice because it's going to make you lost in the forest. But you can't ignore it because the spirit will get angry, so you need to say, I know my way, in my people's language. When I was 16, I used to go with my friend to camp in the forest. It was fun. we would bring beers, hidden of course, and camp near a huge-ass tree called the 10 Arms Tree, cause you need 5 people all holding hands to go around it the whole way. Anyway, one day, we are going there in silence, enjoying the place, and suddenly, I hear someone call my name in a weird voice, but I thought it was my imagination. Then I heard it again, and we all stop and look to each other like, did anyone call me? And heard again. Each of us only heard their own name, so we started to freak out. At first, the voice sounded really far away, but since we did not follow it or respond to it, it began sounding a lot closer. We even start running back, but the voice kept following us and the trees, begging to move like a strong wind were hitting them. But then I remember the story, and I start yelling, I know my way, in my people's language, and immediately the voice goes away and the trees stop moving. We were all really scared, but decided to still camp. But when we get back to town, the first thing I did was go back to my grandma's house and I told her the story. She was really worried, but also happy that I remember how to calm the spirit. Way back in the 1990s, probably around 7 or 8 years old. Bad area, so the council put these shutters on empty houses to stop windows being smashed, people breaking in, etc. Must be the 6 weeks holiday, because me and my friend are out early, and it's a really nice sunny day. Council workers in one of the houses. Friend always blabs on, asking them questions, and you can tell they cannot be bothered, but he does this as they are locking the shutter on the door. These things are really heavy duty, with a lock on the top and one on the bottom, like those locks the old jail cells in westerns have. Not sure if they are distracted by a friend or the shutter door is broken, but the top lock is locked, but not the bottom one. Has a whole 2-centimeter gap. If we can somehow squeeze through that gap. Brother and his friend are around 14, much more roguish, and passing by. Ask them to try and open it. Brother's friend pops the top lock by pulling on the tiny opening. An empty house full of junk is like a treasure trove when you are a kid. Me and friend go inside. Both go upstairs. Spooky as fuck because it is darker and cooler with the shutters up. They have tiny holes in them that let sunlight through, but only enough to light the rooms a bit. Go in one room and friend goes in another. Hear friend talking. Go see. There are some men standing there in deep conversation with him. Gives him something, and then the man sees me. Here, he says, and pulls out from behind some drawers this weird, albeit very well done, pencil drawing of like a Hercules type dude holding up a bull's skull and standing on top of a mountain. Gives it to me. It's backed on board and laminated and everything. Take it, and we both leave. Hang around outside house. Council workers turn back up to relock the door. Have to check inside to make sure no one gets locked in. Guy does not come out with them, and they lock up. No idea who he was or how he got inside. I was convinced by people the drawing was cursed, so I ended up binning it. Regret. Not my memory, but my grandmother's. Her mom was a Polish immigrant and had a thick Polish accent. They lived in a small farming town with a lot of other Polish immigrants. My grandmother's mom was the local witchy matriarch. She collected herbs to make medicine, divined the future, and used a dowsing rod. This was actually really bad for my grandma. While the locals came to her when they were sick, they were all afraid of her and treated my grandmother's family like outcasts. My grandmother has a memory when she was really little. Her mom wanted to see if she had the gift, so she stuck a forked branch in my grandma's hand and sent her out to witch for water. My grandma was so terrified, she desperately wanted to be normal, and she gripped the stick as hard as she could so it would not move. She describes walking to a spot that they later dug a well at, and the stick started to twist in her hand. She squeezed it so hard to stop it from moving that the stick gouged big cuts into her hand, which made blood dribble down the stick and onto the ground. My poor grandma is a little 6-year-old girl, standing there bleeding and sobbing while my great-grandmother was laughing with joy. Lots of other stuff happened to my grandmother, the reluctant witch, but that was the one that always stuck out to me. Working job as a driver's helper for a trucking company. Shift starts at 1:30 a.m. Our routine is to leave the lot, drive into NYC, which is about an hour away, pick up our load at the warehouse there, and then head back to make our rounds of deliveries over the next 8 hours. 2 months into this job, dead of winter, dude driving telling me about how you see all sorts of weird and crazy shit on the road at night. Crashes he has seen, crackheads he has dealt with, etc. As we are driving, he randomly says something along the lines of how he has not seen a fatal accident in a while. About 30 to 40 minutes later, we pass a wreck on the side of the road. Some sort of Porsche is hugging a big-ass oak tree with its roof and is now in the shape of a U. Head crush maximum.jpg. First responders have the scene taped off and under control, basically just milling around, waiting for equipment to arrive so they can extract the human smoothie remains. Based on the activity at the scene, the crash likely happened right about the time my coworker/driver mentioned how he had not seen a fatal wreck in a while. We both note this, and he says he has no idea why the idea popped into his head so suddenly. Maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but based on the response time of EMS and what they were doing at the scene, it puts the crash at the same time that my coworker was mentioning fatal crashes. It's not the creepiest story, or even the weirdest, but I will always remember it. Working at Dunkin Donuts at 18. Night shift. Only me and one other coworker. There would always be a rush from 6 to 7, then quiet down for the rest of the night. She and I are running around, trying to get everything done. Woman comes in for something at the counter. I take it. Coworker is dealing with the drive-thru. In a rush, take her order. She decides to make small chat, even though I'm clearly in a hurry. How are you tonight? Is it busy often at night? Is it just you 2 girls? Blah blah blah, hurry up lady. Guy at the window is being an impatient dick. Snaps something to my coworker about hurrying up. Woman mutters, what an asshole. I was pretty surprised and chuckled, yeah. You know people like that, who just have no respect for others and just can't stand it. Yeah. That is why I could never work a job like this. Right. Because I understand why people go into work and shoot everyone. What? Have no clue how to respond. She just takes her coffee, thanks me, and leaves. Coworker and I are creeped out for the rest of the night. It was just the way she said it, just in the most serious way. Like, nothing behind her eyes. I felt like I was talking to a serial killer. Just creepy. What the heck. Might as well post another one. Working at night as usual, with different coworker. We just finished with the usual rush. Now it's going to be slow all night. Coworker and I are chatting, cleaning up, and restocking for the overnight crew. Coworker gets syrup from the back. Asks if I left the back door open. Why would I? It's freezing tonight. She shuts it. I go back, and the door is open again. Now, this is a big-ass metal door. It's not something that the wind can just blow open. Keeps happening for a half hour. My coworker is freaking out and paranoid, and is watching the cameras instead of helping me, trying to see if she can catch someone going around and opening the door. Unfortunately, there isn't one at the back door, and she is panicking more and more. I am trying to keep her calm by just saying someone is pranking us. She was mostly scared because one of the overnight crew got a knife at his back recently. She goes in the back to fill the cleaning buckets. Hear a scream. Run in the back to see her, and there is a man in the back. Realize it's the owner of the store. He had been opening the door, and we could not catch him because he knew where to avoid the cameras. He had come from his son's birthday party and wanted some free ice from our machine. He thinks He is fucking hilarious and grabs us both by our waists and squeezes us to him. We could tell he was drunk, babbling about no hard feelings. When he leaves, he is like, "You girls be careful now. You are all alone. Be careful of strangers." We were both furious for the rest of the night. That is pretty much it for creepy stories, other than when I was working as a waitress at a Greek restaurant and a table of drunk Greeks were talking about my ass all night. My girlfriend used to work at a video rental place. She would work alone a lot of the time, so I would stop by and hang out with her, etc. I was there one day, and no one else was in the store. We were talking when I heard the distinct sound of a movie hitting the floor. I turned around to see where it came from. I asked my girlfriend if there was anyone else in the store. She said that there was not anyone in store, but that it happens all the time. So I walked around the store to find the movie that fell, but there was not anything out of place. She said that there's never been anything on the floor. They hear it all the time. Sometimes, they would hear the sound of an entire bay of movies crashing to the ground, but never find anything that had fallen. They knew the sound of a bay crashing really well, because kids knocked them down all the time. She worked there for nearly 4 years, but we never figured out what the fuck was causing that noise. I eventually got used to it when I was there. I mean, it happened probably once or twice an hour. The place would be deadly quiet, and no one would be in the store, and you would hear shit moving around like crazy. I don't know. I was born in Mexico City, and my dad bought an old house near Ecatepec before we moved to the States. Both my mom and dad say that house was fucking haunted. Cupboards would open and slam shut in the middle of the night. Doors would fly open at random times, same with the windows. They would hear footsteps in the hall in the middle of the night and voices at all hours of the day. He sold that house after a year and moved the whole family to California. Another story is one that friend told me. His family owns a large ranch in Jalisco at the bottom of a hill. The main road coming from Mexico City goes right through the ranch and onto the town center. Up in the mountains, the road is treacherous, with hairpin turns and steep drop-offs. There was a bus that came twice a day to the town from Mexico City, the later one being at 10 p.m. It would stay the night in the town, and then go back to Mexico City in the morning. Anyway, one night, the bus was running so late, the driver was driving like a goddamn madman, taking turns at speed and generally driving like a fucking idiot. Well, in one of the turns, he lost it, and the bus fell 100 feet down into a ravine. 30 people died, and only 6 survived. My friend says that if you go to the bottom of the hill near the road, you can hear the ghost of the bus coming down the hill. Gear changes, jake brake, everything. Then you feel a breeze, like the bus is passing by you, and then silence. He says that it happens once a week, and can hear it and feel it. Here, when I met this girl, I thought she was an idiot. The next story I'm going to tell you, I posted before, but it is what changed my mind. This happened previous to the first story I posted. GF had been telling me that there was a ghost in my backyard near my barn for months. Says it's related to my grandfather, who was alive at the time. Huh, bitches be crazy. GF leaves my house around midnight. I am smoking my last cigarette of the night on the back porch. Hear what I can only describe as a boulder rolling over trees coming in a woods. Primal fear paralyzes me. See ethereal woman float from the woods to behind my barn. Immediately call my GF. She already knows what I am calling for. Says the woman was in the back of her car, trying to convince my GF to tell me something, but GF refused. GF says it was not her place to intervene, and if I wanted to know, I would have to communicate with spooky woman myself. One night, I go out to barn and lay in lawn chair and start meditating. I am scared shitless, shaky, heart pounding, etc. I feel an overwhelming feeling of peace and calm overtake me. Never did figure out what the ghost wanted to tell me, but I realized she was not there to hurt me. After doing some family research, my grandfather had a sister that was committed to an insane asylum and died there in the 50s/60s. I think it was her. Pic related. Similar to my barn. I tried to get a picture, but it's too dark at the moment.